Welcome to Kim Talks Resilience, where we share stories of insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. Speaking with authors, entrepreneurs, founders, and coaches to learn their strategies for a more resilient life so we can all build the life we love. I'm your host, Kim Hayden. All righty. Welcome back. I am here. My cup is so full. I am so blessed to be doing what I'm doing and speaking to the amazing women that I get the opportunity to chat with. Um, the world's been through a bit of a shakeup lately, and it's can be challenging to continue to push forward. And seeking out voices who are willing to lead the way is, I think, imperative for each of us to do. Our guest today is Shameeka Baptist, and she is a published author and inspirational speaker behind the brand The Strength Within. She is a young woman that grew up in the foster care system who defied the odds that were against her. She'd like to share her journey of resilience with others. She prays and provides others courage and strength to keep fighting and to persevere. And, these are the messages that we all need. Hello, Shameeka. How are you doing?
I'm well, Kim. Thank you for having me. How are you doing today?
I am doing awesome. Doing awesome. We were talking before the show that Shameeka's got this great picture behind her, and everywhere she goes, everybody goes, "Is that New York? Is that Chicago? Like, what is that?" So we all remember Shameeka by her amazing smile and the picture behind her. So, you know
Thank
what,
you.
Shameeka, I'd like to start this off with a little bit more about who is Shameeka, because I know the statistics against a person who goes through foster care. And then when you compound a person of color, and then you compound a person of color by being female, it's literally one after another that statistically that funnel gets very small when we see success come from it. And I'd love for you to share a little bit more of who you are, and then we're going to dive into what you do.
Thank you. So I am Shameeka Baptist. I am actually a four-time self-published author. As Kim had stated, I was previously in the foster care system. I am resilient. I am unapologetically me. I am who I am. Forgive me, I'm not good with speaking about myself. I guess I need to give myself a little bit more grace, but I'm also an inspirational speaker. My mission for me to describe who I am is to be an inspiration, not only to the youth in the foster care system, but even to maybe an adult or a child that may be facing some type of obstacles, whether it be mentally, emotionally, physically, and helping them understand that everything that we go through is just a moment. And sometimes we need to endure these moments to make us the resilient, unique individual that we are today. I can go into a little bit more detail, but I'm not too good with
You're getting there. You
you
know
know.
what, Shameeka? I am 54 years old, and I've been part of a couple books, and I've had a lot of years to talk about my childhood and me. And I bawled like a baby at our last book launch, and I said, "I'm done. I can't do this. I can't talk about this." So you're doing great. You're doing great. But I think that the story really lies in the strength within and what you're building, because sometimes it's easier for us to build systems and products that we can serve other people with, and then we grow and heal through that. Does that make sense? So I'd love for you to dive into what you're doing and how this is helping you grow also.
Yes, thank you. So what I'm doing is I am sharing my story. I'm sharing my journey unapologetically. Now, pre-pandemic, I've always said that I wanted to inspire the youth in the foster care system. I wanted to share my story. A lot of people I've come across have always said, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. Pre-pandemic, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm busy. I don't have the time. I'm tired. Um, and you have everyday responsibilities. And then the pandemic happened and God shut down the whole world, right? And so I stopped writing, I'd say about 2017, early 2018, I stopped writing. And I was like, okay, I just have to sit back, get my life together. And then what do you know? The pandemic happens. I realized that during the pandemic, I had nothing but time. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't hanging out with anyone.
Yep.
This, I think, was time for me to reflect on me. I think it was a time for me to also have self growth and self love. And so when you have nothing but time on your hands, as I say, you have 24 hours in a day. What are you going to do with your time? God shut the whole world down. I really focused on what I was passionate about. I went back to writing. I actually wrote, I was able to complete all four of my books. And so when you sit back and you reflect on the blessing in chaos, you're able to thrive at your best self. So I wrote my books during the pandemic. My message was this, and I think this is why my story is even more inspirational. Not only am I a product of the foster care system, but I was able to show the world what I truly mean when I say you have to find the strength within, right? During a pandemic, a lot of people went into depression, they went into chaos. I looked for a positive. I always say for every negative, there's a positive. The negative was we were in a pandemic. The positive was I have nothing but time to perfect myself and to share my story. So when we came out of the pandemic, I could thrive and elevate to my next level. So I dug in deep, although it was a lot of ups and downs. It was a lot of emotions that, feelings that I thought I tucked away, they come back to life. And I got back to writing and I was able to finish my books and share my story. And here I am today.
Amazing. So, first of all, did I hear a little puppy? Do you have a little dog?
You did. I'm really
No,
sorry.
no. Do you
This
have
is a
don't
beautiful.
apologize. Is he there? Can you show him to me? I love little
Um,
puppies.
He actually just ran. My son grabbed him. So this is so embarrassing. I'm sorry.
Oh,
He's very spoiled. He's very spoiled. My son tells me all the time, like, Mom, you treat him like he's a baby human. He's like, that's why he's like this. So I'm
no,
really
do
sorry. He was
not apologize. I make everybody, if I hear an animal or if I see a tail, I'm like, grab that. Show me. Show me. I love seeing other people's pets.
My son knew he had to get him, so he actually just took him upstairs. So his name is Max. He's a Shih Tzu. He wanted me to come and hold him because we give hugs. My son and I my way of affection, we hug a lot. And so with Max, he likes to hug. And I know you're like, what do you mean? Who the people who have dogs know? So he'll hold up his paws, and that's his way of saying hold me or give me a hug, or he'll just cry like a little baby like he just did. And my son had to come and save the way. I'm really sorry.
No.
I try to contain him, but I swear he gets away and he's like, Mom, Mom.
Oh,
Um,
oh, children and
so
animals. Children and animals. They'll do it every time. Um, let's talk about where you're going and how you're serving through this the strength within. So walk me through that.
where I'm going and what I'm serving is this. Where I'm going, my journey is still moving forward. I will say that I don't have a definitive ending, or I don't even have a definitive end goal, because there's two things. I have not reached my aspirations. I have not reached the magnitude of an audience that I want to reach. Um, Regarding my, like, what I'm doing right now, the pandemic stopped a lot of things. So I'm kind of, to me, sitting still, although I'm moving forward. A lot of times we are our own worst critic. So to me, even though I'm sitting still, I am moving forward. Now, what I'm doing in the back end, as far as networking to get back engaged with the youth, there are a lot of things that took place during the pandemic. My ultimate goal is to eventually, normally I don't like to tell what I'm doing. I feel like I'm going to get jinxed. Um, but normally I don't like to tell. But my end goal is to have duffel bags distributed to all of the youth in the foster care system. Growing up, it was trash bags or, regular bags, whatever you could get to put your belongings in, which wasn't much. My end goal, which to me will not truly be the end, but it's my vision, is to be able to distribute and to speak to the youth. So when they have to go from foster home to foster home, or when they get displaced for whatever reason, they don't have to live out of a trash bag. Now, I do understand. You'll hear people say, well, I donate duffel bags and I do this and I do that. However, for my vision, if you're just donating a bag for a cause or for a nonprofit, I'm not knocking you, but that's one way of doing it. My way of doing it is I want to be able to be that face that the youth can look towards and they can say, you know what? If Shameeka Baptist can do it, I can do it too. Shameeka Baptist went through X, Y, and Z. If she can do it, I can do it too. You have a lot of people that have the means, they have the platforms to still be the face of the youth in the foster care system or even of the foster care system, and they don't utilize it. And so for me, I want to be that face that they can look to and they can say, you know what? Did you hear her message? Did you hear her speech? Did you see her here? Do you know I got this duffel bag from Shameeka? I don't need a trash bag because I got a duffel bag and I can put my belongings into it. And when I go to unpack, I'm unpacking with some type of stability. And Shameeka taught me that. And so as far as projects, they're not set in stone, but I do have a vision.
That's awesome. I recently had an opportunity to listen to Rob Anderson. He's on what is he? I think you can find him on LinkedIn and I think X. But I watched him present um on a conference, the All In conference. And he is I do not know ethnicity. I'm going to guess that he's probably either Pacific Asian or Hispanic or something along those lines. But he was in the foster system out in LA, and he was talking about the statistical likelihood of failing, of not succeeding in life in any level, the statistical likelihood of recreating the same scenario or the same set of circumstances that your parents created. And first of all, just saying that your son grabbed Max, your puppy, and went out, that speaks volumes in how you have healed the legacy that you were given to create the future and the legacy for your son. That speaks volumes because you had a communication there that
I did. I often tell people, I actually just had a conversation with someone today, and I said, um, we all have choices in life, right? My son is obviously not raised anyway, in any way, shape, or form, the way that I was and how I grew up. And as I was telling this person, we all have choices in life, right? And this goes into one of my tips because I speak about one of my tips for finding the strength within is self accountability. And so when we understand that you can no longer blame your past on your present or your future, because you come to a point in time in your life, right? When we were growing up, well, I don't know, I still hear it sometimes, but we always heard that if you knew better, you do better, right? For me, I feel like if you want better, you will do better, because we come to a certain age in our life to where you can no longer blame your current situation on the way that you grew up or the way that you were raised, because you come to an age to where you are now full blown um responsible for your outcome and for the life that you live. And so you can't say, oh, I have mommy or daddy issues, or I wasn't raised like that, or I don't know this, or I don't know that. That is an excuse. That is a choice that you're choosing to make to handicap yourself. But for me, I made the conscious decision to say, you know what? This is what my reality and this is what my truth is. However, it didn't work. I need to change things and adjust things to break the negative cycle. I've even broken the negative cycle between the generation of my parents and myself. Um, and so when we sit back and we realize that the choices that we make, because once you turn about 18 or so, you have a choice. Are you going to blame your current
Yep.
situation on mommy and daddy issues, or are you going to choose to make a change? Now, statistically, you're exactly right. Going back to your initial statement, statistically, I should not be who I am. Statistically, I should be in prison. I should be dead. I should be on welfare with like 5 to 7 children. I should be illiterate. I should be incompetent. I should be a criminal, right? At a young age, I will be honest, and I share this in the Strength Within, I started going down the wrong path. But then I made a conscious decision and a choice to find the strength within and realize that this is not who I want to become. This is not who I am. I am someone dope. I am someone amazing. I am someone resilient, and I'm going to be somebody one day. Real quick, in the Strength Within, to give a little bit more backside, I do speak about a part of my life where I was told every negative connotation that you could have ever told a small child. The woman who adopted me, I was told that I would end up in prison, I would end up on drugs, I would end up incarcerated, I would just end up in shambles, right? I was young. I was literally like 7, 8, 9 years old. When you hear someone tell you that, a lot of children will get discouraged and they'll believe it. Because of my faith in God, I don't know what it was. What drove me to succeed in life was to say, who are you? It was for me to rebel. Who are you? You don't know me. You can't tell me what I'm going to be. I'm going to be what I want to be when I grow up. I'm going to be who I want to be. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to do it. And so when you shift that mindset, the choices that you make are ultimately up to you. It doesn't, you're only a statistic because you choose to be a statistic. Let me just sum it up that way. And I apologize if I'm long-winded,
No,
but if
no,
you are a statistic, you're choosing to be a statistic,
exactly.
because testimony that I'm not. You can change the narrative if you want to.
I totally agree. I heard a gal once say, she lives by the three C's. You are given a challenge, you make a choice, and you live with the consequence. So, and what was really interesting is before that, and I think this was actually a little bit before COVID that I heard that. Before hearing that, I had always associated the word consequence to a negative. And what it
It's
is, it's
not.
just it's isn't that crazy? Like,
It is.
that's literally where my head went. It's like, "Oh, well, consequence is always bad," but consequence is literally just the sum of our choice.
It is. I actually speak about that in my book, The Diary of an Illusion, as well as briefly in Solidification of the Fourth Quarter. So, Solidification of the Fourth Quarter is actually my fourth book that I've self-published, and that is more of affirmations. It's more of an affirmation journal, right? But when it comes to that part, I wholeheartedly agree with you, because as I always say, it begins with our mindset, right? A consequence is only negative if it was a negative action that caused it. But guess what? Karma is a consequence for your good deeds or your bad deeds as well. So a consequence is not a bad thing. When basically a consequence is for every action, there's a reaction, right? Now, depending on that action, will determine the reaction. But consequences are not always bad, because sometimes as well, the consequence is not always for us, it's for the other person. And so for me, although I went through what I went through, the consequences of seeing me successful are for the other person to eat that karma for the way I was raised and how they treated me. Because my consequence, which is my good karma, is I'm able to sit here today and share my story. So consequences are not a bad thing. They're not. I understand some people think like,
Yeah.
no, it's not like that. For every negative, there's a positive. So that's the way I like to word the consequences, right? And so when you think about it and you shift that mindset, that a consequence is more like a lesson, right? If you're not learning, you're not elevating and growing. Sometimes we have to learn the lesson and gain the consequence in order for us to gain the positive, which is the wisdom to know what to do and what not to do as we progress in life.
And there's nothing sadder than wasting the gift of your life being the consequence for your parent or somebody else's bad choices. And I think that's the big one, is that, and we're going to get to your quote, because I totally resonated with what you said. It totally resonated. But I want to move into your story of resilience. This just sheer fact that you're here is a story in itself of resilience. But can you share a time, a moment in your life that you were at a fork, and without that push, that moment of resilience, you wouldn't be here having this conversation?
I've had a bunch of those moments.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right. I'm like, man, I swear they don't stop. But I think for me with my journey, personally, it was like a wake up when I was 18, aged out and homeless. I mean, I've been in some pretty low lows, but when I tell you that I had to put on this mask and persona of strength, I had to, as I'm talking myself up to like have the strength in that moment, I had to put it on in the exterior because I had to survive. And so at 18, I came into that fork in the road. And when I hit that fork of being homeless and hungry, and I had a choice to either be a criminal or to make something out of yourself. And I went through some really dark times at a very, 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 very young age, but I learned quick. I listened to the knowledge that was given to me just from, obviously, it was like random encounters and random strangers. And to me, that's the best gifts of knowledge when it comes from someone that you don't know. Um, I think that breaking point and where I really woke up was when you don't have family to run to, when you don't have any money, when you don't have anything to eat, and you are literally looking around in the world like when I look back on it, I can only say like it's by the grace of God that got me to where I am today, but it was my discernment that kept me
It
covered.
was
It was
exactly.
my discernment that kept me covered. But as far as it's really hard to explain because, and I know some people are going to be like, why does she think she's special? But when you know that you are special and you're anointed by God and God is with you, I don't know how to explain it,
You don't
but
have to, Shameeka. I have been in your shoes. People look at me and they are always mind boggled with the fact that I was homeless in a car that had no floorboard in it, with a toddler, and I'd been burned
oh
out of
my
my
gosh.
apartment. And I had our clothes and all my Christmas ornaments were, and my son's stuff was in the back bedroom that did not get impacted by smoke or water. So when you say you can't explain it, it is because we can't explain it. There was something special within that has pushed you. You were given the path, right? It could have gone bad, it
Right,
could have gone good, right? And you continue to choose the fork that leads you forward.
right.
I love that. That's why I resonated so much with your story, because I get where
You
you're coming
get it.
from and
Like,
where you're going, and I do believe that there is a greater calling, and it will happen. And the beauty of our 50s is that life is not over, because you're still way young. You're still in your 30s. You've got 20
mhm.
years. Imagine what you can do with 20 years. So I
Girl, I'm scared.
you can own the whole world, honey. The whole world will be.
I'm like, you want to know what? I am seriously like, honestly, as much as I've conquered, I'm like, God, can I get my breakthrough? Like I'm. Don't get me wrong. I am grateful because I have been through some things that I've conquered, but I am also like, please do not make me go through
Well,
another.
my mother has always said, You're never given more than you can handle." And
I
and
know
when we take one for the team, that means somebody who could not handle it is left,
we're
yeah,
carrying.
is given a break, right? So it
Right.
takes strong women to continue to make this world a better place for our children and our children's children, you know?
It really does.
So I want you to give me your 3 tips. You have 3 tips, strategies that you wanted to share.
Yes. So a lot of times people ask me, Shameeka, how do you find the strength within? Like, how did you do it? How, right? And I'm speaking about like people who come from different walks of life. Um, and the first thing I tell them is finding the strength within begins with self accountability. If you do not have self accountability, you will never find that strength. What I mean by self accountability is understanding that we come to a point in time in our life where we are in control of our destiny, right? We can no longer blame our present situation on the way we grew up or our past situations. You got to take control of your life. The second tip is shifting our mindset. By shifting your mindset, one of the examples that I love to use and I live by is for every negative, there is a positive. Although you grew up broken, you may have been abused, you may have been neglected. You are not shattered, you are not broken, you are okay. Although you have gone through those things, you're still here and you're okay and you need to push forward. Now, the final thing is understanding your past does not define your present or your future. I don't care if you were a foster child. I don't care if you grew up in a two-parent household or with your grandparents or whoever, whatever. Your past does not define your present or your future. When you take self accountability, you embrace your trauma for what it is. You give yourself grace and you look back. And when you give yourself grace, you say, you know what? I went through that, but I conquered it. And I'm no longer a victim, I'm a valor because God brought me through it. That's your mindset shift. Your mindset is no longer focused on the trials and the tribulations and being a victim or a product of what society told you you would be. You are a valor and you are amazing and resilient. And then you get to that final where you embrace who you are, you love who you are for your flaws and all. And then you start to rewrite your narrative because you understand that that is what you needed to go through to make you the divine, unique individual that you are today. And if you did not go through the trials and tribulations, if you do not go through the shortcomings, you will never be the resilient, amazing individual that you are today. You have to go through it
Yep.
to become who you are meant to be.
I 110% agree. I 110% agree. Um, if you could share with us, so I brought up your book. I want you to tell us in your words what you believe the reader will, uh, what can the reader expect from your book?
As a reader of my book, as well as if you choose to follow me on social media, I am an open book. I am unapologetically me. I am raw and uncut with sharing my story. Sometimes you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. And sometimes you have to read things and see things and even experience things that you're like, oh my God, you want to clutch your pearls. Like, what? Like, what the,
I
you
love that.
know?
I love that. That's
Right.
one of
And
my
you're like,
favorite terms, clutch your pearls. I love
like,
that.
did I but when you read my books, understand one thing. Have an open mind. Now you can do whatever you choose to do. One thing is specifically with the strength within, I take you back in time. I take you back from literally a first person perspective, and then I bring you back forward. So, with the strength within, it's more so of a first person perspective. You are going to look at it like if you don't have an open mind, you may look at it like, this is poorly written or whatever, or like, where is she coming from or whatever. But if anyone who knows me, but even those who don't, what I'm thankful for is that my readers are understanding that I am taking you literally as close as you can get on a front line journey of my journey in life. And so be open minded for my journey. Be open minded to the words of wisdom. I think that one thing I want people to take away the most is I want you to know you are never alone. I don't care what anyone tries to make you think. I don't care if they say you're crazy, like, because sometimes we have those people where it's like, you're crazy and blah, blah. No, it's not. I'm not crazy. I've just experienced certain things. So my mental, right, and my mentality, my knowledge, my intellect is on a level that you may not understand. You may not understand my intellect because you have not walked across my same journey, but understand you're never alone. And even though you didn't grow up in foster care, I would like you to be open minded to understand.
So,
We all have shortcomings in life. We all come from whatever we come from. No one's life is perfect. Be open minded to seeing another person's perspective. You may just be grateful that you grew up the way that you did and you did not experience what I went through or what someone else went through. So sometimes we need that humbling moment. Um,
and being
but everyone's entitled to think what they want.
well,
So
and
I'm just
yeah,
thankful.
and being thankful for the journey that we were given because we had the strength
Right,
to navigate it. And I think that's the
right.
important thing. I think that when you're able to immerse yourself into somebody else's story, it gives you opportunity to not only,
Grow,
yeah, to grow and also to have gratitude for what your experiences are, right?
right.
So your website is thestrengthwithin.com, and those are hyphenated. So if anybody's so when you're listening to this, it's the hyphen strength hyphen strengthwithin.com. And we can follow you on the Strength Within official page on IG. Is there anywhere else that we can find you and follow you, or is that basically where people can find you and engage and get that open book of Shameeka?
That's really it. And forgive me for the listeners. I'm not very active on social media. I don't like it. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day, people. A whole nother story for a whole nother day. But I do engage with people if they do engage with me. But yes, those are the two platforms. And maybe as I evolve and grow, I will change my perspective and become a little bit more open-minded about social media. I doubt it, but I'll try.
I think you and I went to the same social media disappreciation.
Right.
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's terrible. I'm like,
But honey, you're beautiful and young. You could totally work social media. Me, I'm just like, I'm done.
and I think that is based on perspective because I'm just like, I think it's not right. I'll just keep
I'm
it at
with you.
that. That's a whole
That's a
other
whole nother
conversation.
conversation.
Right.
That's a whole nother
Social media is
conversation.
not normal.
What I would like to do is I want you to close this out with your quote, right? I want you to tell us why. Give us your quote and tell us why this is important that other people embrace it.
My quote, well, one of the quotes that I live by, but my ultimate favorite is your past does not define your present or your future because it doesn't. What you endured as a child and what you endured throughout the years, you needed to. You needed to go through it. You had to conquer those obstacles. You had to fight those demons. You had to go through it to make you the divine, unique individual that you are today. If I did not embrace my past, and if I allowed my past to handicap me, I would not be able to sit here and share my story with you and the world. And you had to go through it. So embrace it. Give yourself more grace. Let it empower you. Let it give you strength. I know I did. And that's why I'm here. And I'm just hoping that I can inspire people because I want you to understand you have to go through it. As a child in the foster care system, I know you're young and I know, you may be scared and you may be like, my life is over. Like, why? But I promise you, I am a walking testimony to tell you, you will be okay. You are going to be great in life. And as long as you keep pushing forward and don't allow these moments to handicap you, you're going to be okay. Your past does not define your present or your future. And you're going to be someone amazing and you're going to be someone resilient and dope. And if you haven't found it just yet, take this moment right now, moving forward, to make that conscious decision to find the strength within and to live in your best purpose.
Goosebumps. If I had a,
I'm
if
so
I could,
sorry.
no, do not say sorry. Please. That was so profound. That was so beautifully said. So beautifully said. And you know what? We will have a future conversation and we will see you stand there and help young children get their duffel bag. And I think there's actually even more in the future for you. I really do.
There is. Thank you.
Sham-
And thank you for having me, Kim.
Absolutely. Folks, you will find everything from Shameeka in all of the links, the books, everything's going to be in the show notes. And you know what? Absolutely. Your past does not define your future. Do not give a power to those who would have hurt you or have hurt you or stopped you or cobbled you. Do not give them the consequence that you truly deserve, which is happiness and power and a future that is bright and beautiful. Until next time, I cannot thank Miss Shameeka for sharing your time and your message with us all. And all I can say is be good to yourself. You deserve it. Thank you for joining us here today at Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I'd love to invite you to our resilient community at resilientgift.com. That's resilientgift.com, and we'll send you our magazine and tickets for upcoming events and all sorts of cool things we do here. So be sure to keep watching, and You know what? Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, because we all know that sharing